competition is fierce. Don't get A like the last kid. And if I'm telling the truth, then tell me why you mad then. Here's what I'm gonna do. Hold up, salute to the brand new dudes without their group, scraping up their tunes. Don't know what to do, just keep it cool. Keep it clean when they're just like the boat. We just like you, trying to make it to round two. Here's what I'm gonna do. Hold up, salute to the brand new dudes without their group, scraping up their tunes. Don't know what to do, just keep it cool. Keep it clean when they're just like the boat. We just like you, trying to make it to round two. Hold up, salute. We just like you, trying to make it to round two. Hold up, salute. Just found what I'm looking for. Check, 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 check. I just found what I'm looking for. In the booth, win or lose, I spit the truth.
What's going on, y'all? It's your boy DameSmiff, and I'm out here. And today's episode of Musician Talks is going to be about understanding and navigating, and again, discerning who to collaborate with, who to work with, how to tell a collaboration is a good one by its results, and also how to avoid pitfalls when you're trying to figure out who to collaborate with or what partnerships to make. So if you're interested in conversations like this, make sure you hit the like button so that more people know that this is a dope video, and then also subscribe so you can catch the latest streams. But I want to know how you guys are feeling, how everything's are going, because as we get into this, we are going to be exploring a few of our, I guess you could say, favorites when it comes to the music industry and entertainment, but we'll also be looking into how things went right, how things went wrong, and then we'll try to figure out what we may have done if we were put in the same positions ourselves as musicians, or just, you know, in general, regular people and things like that. So one of the things that I usually, just to give you my perspective on collaboration, one of the things I try to think about with collaboration is similar to what we were talking about yesterday when working with investors, is how I can be of benefit to other people, right? Like, I have a bunch of ideas in my head that I want to do musically, right? But the issue that I'm going to run into is whether or not it makes sense for what you have going on, right? So when it comes to working in a band, working in a group or an ensemble, a lot of what I try to focus on is being of benefit, being of value, and understanding that a lot of it will be dictated on someone else's terms, okay? Now, when it comes to my own works and things like that, I'm very particular on who gets to work with like things that are my personal type of projects and things like that, simply because the people who will be attached to it, I plan to properly and formally give them credit and things like that. So it has to be a thing that actually makes sense and a thing that works for their brand and works for, you know, whatever it is they're trying to build. Like if they're just a hobbyist or something like that, we can just, you know, collaborate on something. But if you want to like start formally being recognized and stuff like that, then we got to take it, you know, super serious. But many of artists that I work with and have spoken with, this is a more of a handshake agreement type of thing. Like culturally, most musicians just kind of say, yo, help me out with this and I'll help you out with that type of situation. Or maybe I do a gig and then you do a gig for me, or I write a song and then you provide, you know, the lyrics or whatever. And it's just a, you know, simple word of mouth collaboration, right? But what happens for musicians typically and artists when you introduce something as powerful and finite as money or leverage or real estate or even the relationship itself, right? And so I've been in a few different situations where people kind of took each other granted because of the results that were garnered from the collaboration. So let's say like somebody didn't feel like they weren't represented creatively, like they feel like their idea was kind of overshadowed by something else, right? Another example has been where like, of course, finances, like somebody feels like money is owed to them or that there should be more money coming to the group so that they can get paid and things like that. I've seen situations where some musicians feel as though their perspective on the music industry is different. So like what is work? What is a song? What should be considered, I guess you can say, a product versus something sentimental, you know? And so these are things you're going to have to really navigate, especially as young musicians, because you're going to have to set the standard for yourself. Like you're going to have to kind of be like, okay, this is the type of musicians I work with. This is the type of musicians I am. This is the type of musician I work with and things like that. But in order for it to be consistent, you're going to be met with resistance. Now, what do I mean by that? These are all big words and stuff like that. So you may have a band you want to start with a certain genre of music. Maybe it's a girl band and y'all play punk rock with like yodeling, right? Somebody's going to come along and they're going to present to you an algorithm, a trend, or something like that's going on in pop culture that might not really be of benefit if you decided to participate in. Meaning like, okay, if your punk rock yodeling girl band is going to perform and you get an offer to perform at the Super Bowl, but the hottest song is from the Kendrick and Drake beef, what are the odds that you will be supported in this endeavor? And how will you be supported? Like, does that matter to you, right? Now, I'm saying that as a person who's thinking about that, but there is a group of musicians who just refuse to think about that. They just think like the opportunity is the opportunity. So just go out there, right? When we were speaking yesterday about investors and understanding how to discern good decisions, a part of making one of these decisions is the data that we use to make these decisions. So if you see a musician who wants to do a punk rock yodeling all girl band and they get an opportunity to do a show and they realize the overarching industry is not trending towards what they offer, they have a choice to make. They can kind of do what I see many musicians do. They'll do cover songs, like hip hop violins and shit like that. Like you see stuff like that. And so they can do that, or they can double down and then compete directly with what it is that is trending. Both of which you can make an opinion on whether or not it's the right decision, but both of which will be met with resistance as far as what people are asking for and what you're willing to deliver and possibly how you feel about it. So let me know what you think in the comments about how you plan or expect to navigate your musical career and how you think a musician should navigate their musical career. And then let's get into the first video here. And this is actually going to be of a study on Kanye West's collaboration style, I guess you can say management style, with his own projects and things like that. And a lot of people, when they talk about Kanye, depends on when he was introduced to you, will really shape how you talk about Kanye. If you talk about him from a musical aspect, there's a lot of positive opinions about him. When you talk about him from a personal aspect, you get a lot of mixed opinions. So we're going to look at this from the business perspective, which is going to be interesting because it's a blend of both his creativity and his personal life. So let's get it.
It never lasts long. He just always drops it because he always have to make it about him, right? Is he deleting again? It always have to be you front and center, right? And as a result, everything that he worked on just never materialized, right? So it's not like he's a jack of all trades or a master of none, right? And a master of none. Because I would say that he has perfected, modern music, right? In terms of production and stuff like that with the college era. I would say up until Jesus, right? Agree to disagree, right? But because he just refuses to stick with his evolutionary plan and he always has to make it about him, that's why you have where he is right now, right? And it's just sad to watch though. And just seeing this show try to embody that, right? I seen try lastly because again, like there's no focus because he himself has no focus. He is never really focused. He's never really had a clear path. So we jump from talking about Jesus as Lord to saying, fuck Virgil, all these kind of things, right? The man has never had a clear path.
So this guy, I believe he's reviewing this film and he's talking about a bit of the soundtrack and a bit of Kanye's work. And his description of this seems to be that a lot of what Kanye does seems to be volatile. Like it just pick up, put down, pick up, put down. Now, if you've ever studied creativity or artistry in general, you'll know that that's kind of normal, especially for an artist. I would say that working with somebody like that would be stressful for a person that is looking for a transactional relationship. Okay. And this is where I'm talking about knowing how to discern who to work with, right? How do you know a person is a person that behaves like this? And the only real answer is, the true test will be just to work with them and then find out for yourself. But when you do understand that this is the type of person you're working with, how and why would you work with them, right? So when you look at successful relationships for a person like Kanye West, it is usually one where he gets to kind of steer his own ship. Those are the relationships where it seems to help him thrive, right? And we looked yesterday at the idea of investors. The concept of somebody collaborating with you for their own benefit is that of a investor. The concept of somebody collaborating with you for your benefit is more of a customer to salesman benefit, right? It doesn't necessarily have to inherently benefit both parties when there's just a consumer salesman type of relationship, right? And that can be like cooking you food doesn't necessarily help the chef. It helps the business, but it doesn't necessarily help his personal life directly, right? But feeding your stomach helps you way, 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 way more, right? On the other hand, if somebody were to make a song, right, how do you know that this is going to benefit somebody, right? Well, the way many musicians have started to do it was what we spoke about last week was leverage. Instead of trying to leverage and influence, really, but instead of trying to sell you on the feeling of a song or the lyrics or the story of the artist now, they're selling you on the idea. Who is Kanye? Why would you support Kanye, right? And so when you start to look at it this way, you'll realize what kind of person you're working with. So that means that you're not really working with a person who's trying to sell a transactional kind of product. They're selling a almost immersive experience, that of which completely involves themselves and their image being the brand. Now, how do you collaborate with this person? The main thing you would have to think about is How do you bring value to this circumstance? Trying to bring value to this circumstance can be super, super easy or super, super difficult depending on the kind of person you are. If you're the kind of person that thinks I need to be entitled to a level of power, I need to be in control of things, and I need to have full understanding of what's going on before I make a decision, working with a person like Kanye might not be for you. Because, as he was explaining in this review here, is that if you're working with somebody who is self-centered, meaning like their ideas come from self, not anywhere else, like religion, or not even religion, but come from the sense of I am in control of this idea, right? So if you want to make an album and you write it and you create the vibe and you design the music videos, you do the font, you do the artwork and things like that, all of that is coming from self. When you get assistance, you are delegating, meaning you are telling others what to do from your perspective, right? The type of person that I described earlier would be a person that wants to be given authority over this type of circumstance. And that's going to actually cause friction because you're dealing with a self-centered leader, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to be a self-centered leader. It's actually just a kind of leader. So if you know that you're dealing with a self-centered leader, now how do you navigate the fact that you are also a self-centered person? Meaning you're not really there to be for the other person's benefit. You're there to get a transaction done. You want to benefit as well. There's a bit of, again, it's not bad, but it is what it is. You are centered on yourself. How do you navigate collaborating with a person like this? Well, typically, most people just avoid these types of relationships. They just feel as though they're not compatible and it's not going to work, right? But in the music industry, a lot of times this is something that can be done through product sharing, resource sharing, and idea sharing, because simply controlling a self-centered person's idea is more of an uphill battle than it is an easy, even keeled battle. Okay. So what that would look like is if Kanye has got a new album coming out and you're a person that likes to be in control of things, you want to know how things works and sounds and things like that, you can present, let's say, an opportunity to work under the project as a producer or perhaps as a writer. Just you will have to, again, understand that this is not your idea coming to life. You are assisting as a writer or a producer to produce for someone else, right? On the other hand, a person that would be a little bit more or not as self-centered would be willing to accept your ideas from an authoritative standpoint, meaning like we need your help to help us make a decision, not we've made a decision and this is what we need you to do. So it's two different perspectives. And a lot of times when you meet people who are these kinds of, I guess you can say, leaders, the things that they're going to be thinking about have very little to do with your personal life. And it's not a bad thing. It's just that they are literally self-centered. And so understanding that makes collaborating, I'm not going to say easier, but you'll have more understanding on what you're doing. You have more understanding of who it is you're working with, and you would really value them for exactly who they are. You know, you won't resent them, you won't hate them, and you won't treat them negatively because you will understand what position they play within your network, right? So I personally, in the grand scheme of things, when I think about like all the band directors, all the section leaders, and all the collaborations in music and things like that, I prefer to work with self-centered people because self-centered people have a level of standard that, with proper understanding, they don't mind the stresses of dealing with completing a project, right? Whereas I've been under leadership, whether it's at work or in a band or in section leaders and stuff like that, where the leader is a little bit more reliant on the team. And what then happens is there tends to breed a bit of laziness, just to put it blunt. And it's not, again, it's not a bad thing. It's just a kind of leadership. So like if you know you have practice, you have to write, you know you have a show coming up, and you have to get your clothes and attire already ready for the show, A self-centered leader would try to get all of that done and then employ the assistance of other people to do it, right? A more reliant leader, in my opinion, has been a person that would kind of wait until the last minute, hoping someone would notice is something going wrong. Or on the other hand, they would delegate in terms of laying the responsibility upon others, right? So, like, instead of going out and getting what they need done, they're not attempting at all. Their attempt is to delegate first, right? And a lot of times for me, that doesn't really work well in creativity. Like, it may work if, you're on like a big ass corporation, but if you're working intimately in like a small, tight knit 10, 20, even 50 person type of company, you have to be a level of go getter that inspires people to do things at a standard that you expect, right? And it's a weird phenomenon, and I don't like it, but it is real. It's that if you notice, like, I'll use your parents for an example. If you notice your dad doesn't really like take his shoes off when he comes in the house, you won't take your shoes off when he comes in the house, right? And so when you go over other people's houses and they take their shoes off, there's an adjustment you have to make, right? But if you have an instance where your father is telling you, hey, take your shoes off when you come into the house, this is why, and then for some reason he doesn't do it, you now have more understanding when you go over someone else's house and they take their shoes off versus you being of hindrance, right? And a lot of times this can look like this. Oh, well, since Kanye didn't practice this week, I think we'll be straight for the performance. I'm gonna chill too, since he's chilling out. He wasn't in the studio going over his set, so I think we'll be straight for the performance. You start breeding these kind of thoughts, or you'll say, I mean, I don't really need to go as hard. We kind of chilling today. It is Wednesday. The show's probably next week, so we chilling. You start thinking this way. Whereas if you're a self-centered person, it's kind of unfortunate, but it's a part of the job. There's a level of stress that comes with demand and performance. There's a little bit of performance anxiety, but it makes you understand that, okay, there is literally a metric I have to meet in order to be considered either good, complete, or finished, or valuable. And you have to strive for that every day. And so for somebody who possibly, like the person reviewing this film, that seems more like work and stress than it does fun and collaborative. And so you'll see this sometimes too in hip hop, where you get people collaborating on a song. And once somebody starts talking like a self-centered person, everybody else tends to kind of like react around that. And let me know in the comments if you ever seen that before, or heard that in a song before, when you've seen or heard collaborative people on a rap song, and then suddenly things kind of shifted when someone got a little more self-centered.
I have to applaud Nico for this scene at least. Listen, I just try to embody this. So just like the guy before Genius, I am trying to make a clear enough narrative. But this is the best I have, because this guy's life has just never been clear. It's never been focused. It's never been, it never really had a clear path at all. And I just put this out here for you to kind of understand that's Kanye in a nutshell, right? So yeah, for me, I kind of found myself really admiring this show, Dread, for what it is, right? It's not gonna be for everyone, but I would say that if you were a former fan of Kanye, you gotta watch this. If you are like me and you just wanna understand how we get from here to there, Dread, because really think about it, from where he was in 2004 when we introduced him through College Dropout to where he is now, Dread, it's like, what the hell happened, Dread? And this show at least does a solid job of saying, I don't know neither, but this show at least could kind of give you a clear idea of where he was, what he was trying to do, where he was trying to go, and just all the bad decisions that he made. But really,
so yeah, he's actually kind of proving what I was saying. He's saying that when you look back at like 2004 Kanye, College Dropout, and all that stuff, you don't necessarily see kind of like a very good understanding of where he's going, and it makes people kind of hesitant. Like, they don't necessarily want to work with you as much because they need that understanding. And again, like I said, that's a type of person. That's a kind of, I guess you could say, employee relationship with somebody, or transactional relationship, where your employer tells you this is your job description, this is what you're going to do, and things like that. But for most people, that's going to be a thing that they expect going in. Like, they're not really considering okay, maybe things will change and it has to change like right now. You know, maybe things will change and things will be discussed at a later point. You know, they're not really considering any of that because it's not really their responsibility. And so a lot of times when it's met like in practice, it's almost kind of like offensive to them. Like they don't really understand why you wouldn't want to give them all this understanding and answer all their questions and give them these kinds of things. But that's kind of my point about leadership and understanding who you're working with in leadership. If you feel like you need to get all this understanding, slow down the process. Let's have a meeting. Let's get our minutes together. Everybody bring your opinions. Let's hear everybody's voices. Then you want to make sure you're working with someone like that that's going to actually be of benefit and actually get you the results you're looking for. Because a lot of times people get what they want and they don't get the results that they desire. You get the leader you want, but you don't get the desired results. And so that has to be very, 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 very clearly understood before you start, I guess you can say, criticizing and chastising the leader without the result of anything. So let's get into our next topic. And this one is actually going to be about Drake versus UMG. And this one is where Billboard's legal experts discuss Drake's decision to appeal his lawsuit against his own label. And this is over Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us. So if you mention that song as far as one of the songs where somebody got a little more egotistical and things got a little bit rambunctious, that is a great example in itself right there. So let's get into it.
Ridiculed what he was doing and said that this was antithetical to hip hop. And we were talking about authenticity before. Hip hop is another genre that you know, authenticity and realness is such an important part of it. And so he took this reputational hit and then he lost the lawsuit, which the judge ruled, as many people expected, that this is not the kind of thing that you can file a defamation lawsuit over. You can typically sue for defamation over a statement that can be proven true or false. Mm-hmm. And that excludes things that are opinion. If I say
or expressions of art, right?
Right. Yeah. And like if I said Kristen stinks, there's
not true.
Which I would never say, to be clear.
For the record.
You can't prove that true or false. It's just a statement of opinion. And that's what this judge said here. When you're making these hyperbolic statements, especially in the context of a rap battle, people are not expecting what she said was sober facts. They're expecting you to just say ridiculous things to insult the other person. So that was why she dismissed the case. And now here we are heading into 2026 and Drake is appealing the case, keeping it going.
Not letting it die.
Not letting it die, which you can discuss the PR angle of it till you're blue in the face. But he has an interesting legal case, which is, this is the big question is, did the average listener think that he was really calling, that Kendrick was really calling him a pedophile? Was he saying you are a pedophile, or was he saying, some more amorphous, hyperbolic thing? And I think a lot of people would say that he was just calling him a pedophile. So you get into, I think that, and that's what Drake's lawyers are going to argue, which is that there are big First Amendment reasons for why you want to be really light touch with bringing defamation lawsuits in against works of art.
Yeah.
But that in this context, maybe people really took it as a direct statement of fact. That's what they're going to argue before the appeals court. And we'll see how that goes.
I just feel like in rap music, the rap industry has been fighting for so long to make sure that rap lyrics are not used in court against a rapper, to allow rappers to freely express themselves, to brag, to make up stories, to say whatever they want in their art, and not be seen as having actually committed a crime or whatever it is. And this just kind of, if Drake were to win, that just totally takes that back. Well, like, what does he want? Does he want UMG to not release, to censor one of their artists?
Right. And that's where.
And she actually made a great point, was that like a lot of labels, they do use that defense that these rap lyrics are just pretty much art. They're fake. They're not real. You're supposed to take them with a grain of salt, right? We've seen that with the Young Thug case. We've seen that with case after case after case where, like I spoke about, I think about a year ago on this channel, where I was saying how record labels target criminals to sign criminals, and then they'll defend the criminals by saying the things that the criminals rap about in their songs, the murders and robberies and scams and drug dealing that they do in the songs, that's not real. And then when the court looks deeper, they find out it was real and it actually was accurate to the song that they wrote. That of which we wonder, why would you do that if you're a criminal, right? But before we get to, being dumb and then also a criminal at the same time, we got to really think. So what is the point here? Are lyrics meant to be used or not, right? And that really shines a light on the relationship Drake has with his label. He's dealing with a situation where his label is can use pretty much that argument to try and justify why Kendrick could suggest that he's a pedophile. But if he were to let that slide, then he would have to let people think that he's a pedophile, right? And so if he lets that slide, then that means that he's going to have to worry about this relationship with his record label, people's relationship with his music, and then the relationship he has with his lawyers, all trying to right a wrong in that which, believe whatever you want, is not true. And so how do you navigate this with a relationship that you've had with a record label that has made you millions on the back of the very thing that you rap about, which is what was used against you? What do you do there,
If Drake were to win, that just totally takes that back.
Well-
Like, what does he want? Does he want UMG to not release, to censor one of their artists?
Right. And that's where another aspect of it, which was just so unbelievable, I think, about it, was that, he and Kendrick are both signed to Universal. If he's saying you should censor a song like Not Like Us, he's inviting censorship of himself as well. And to your point, that whole argument about the use of lyrics in criminal cases has been such a huge deal. And I don't think anyone in the creative community would ever support the idea that what you say in a song could be used against you in a criminal proceeding. And this just flies in the face of that. And it's just bizarre.
I will tie us up here with the issue of rap on trial has been a really, really big issue that I've been covering for a really long time. And back in 2021 or 2022, there was a letter signed by many, many prominent artists saying that rap music should not be treated literally and that it should be taken as a form of art and should not be used in court. Drake was one of the signatories of that letter, which was brought up in the case. So all the legal experts who have really followed that issue closely have weighed in on this case exactly like you just did. So it's a fascinating case and a good one to watch in 2026.
So what do you think would be the main thing in the relationship between even not just the record label, but even all the people on the record label? Because a lot of times we just think about, Lil Wayne, Nicki, Drake. No, there's like accountants. There's people who probably run social media accounts, people that do copywriting for them, people that run their emails and stuff like that. People they see every day that's in that record label that is now being adjusted or confronted over this whole Not Like Us beef, right? What do you think happens with those relationships? And then how do people think, of Drake going forward when, let's say, layoffs start happening, when settlements start occurring, things like that? So this is kind of the thing that you want to think about when you're working with people. Now, I don't know Drake personally, but when you're looking at, let's say, his track record and what people have said about him, he has had a track record from word of mouth of being flip-floppy, of being really, really cool with you at one point and then flipping on you later, and then working with you really, 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 really passionate at one point and then ghosting you later. I've just heard this. So if you want to work with somebody that's going to have loyalty to you through something like this, like being called a pedophile on the Super Bowl, then you would have to really consider how you find that out. How do you find out that this person's not going to sue you for being the record label that let him be called a pedophile, and things like that? So I don't know how you would figure that out with something as extreme as something like this, but in my life, you usually have to react to it first. But if you want to prevent it, you can always have preventative practice, which is what most people would call, fellowship and things like that. Just get to know people, like talk to them, ask these like provocative questions sometimes that like, hey, what do you think about, for an example, not to be so extreme on this topic, but like, what do you think about selling the record label? Like, just pose it and then just be like, I mean, if you're honest, it's a more comfortable conversation. But if you're trying to like, dig deeper for a person behind their back, you're not really being honest, or you're not really being accurate. Like, you might be getting a scared reaction, you might be getting a business perspective, but if you want to truly know a person, you kind of got to not test them, but you have to really find out who they are, that of which they might actually hide from you. Drake might have hid the fact that he felt the type of way about that the whole time from his record label, and then just spoke to his lawyers in the dark, like he personally can do as a free, American citizen. So these are things you got to think about, because now the record label has to reconsider, like, okay, who is Drake to us? Is Drake like a bro? Is he family? Or is he like a divorced spouse, suddenly an adversary trying to take everything you own, So who knows? We'll have to see. And as we follow it, because there's, again, a lot of flip-flopping going on, as they were saying. He's pro, don't use my lyrics, but then also pro, hey, those lyrics hurt my feelings. So let's get to the next one here.
Full control over whether and how their names, images, likeness, voices, and compositions will be used in new AI-generated music. And if the artists opt in for their music to be used by Suno, they will have a new revenue stream if their music is used in AI songs. Now let's see what Suno gets from this partnership. Suno gets to work directly with artists and songwriters.
So before we get into this, what this video does is it actually explains the Warner Music Group and Suno merger and things like that. And it's a lot of mergers like this happening. There's probably more on like a smaller scale with smaller engines and smaller record labels. But basically, there's going to be a big fight on who controls the AI engines. And it's going to, not really a big fight, but more of like a bidding war, I guess you can say. So this video is going to explain how the artist will have full control to opt in for their voices and likenesses to be used by Suno for a new revenue stream. The idea of this is cool, but as we saw before, they're demonetizing AI. There's really no value from the record labels in terms of AI. This seems more of like a real estate grab, so that way they can control access to AI versus being able to create more with AI. So I think a lot of times we think our voice is like literally just going to be ours, like just because we have our voice, just because we have our likeness, our look and things like that. Like I tell people all the time, if you're posting on Instagram right now, like if you're taking selfies, like, oh, look, I did my makeup, look at my outfit, and you're not thinking about like how to monetize that, you're being used already to be monetized. Now, as I say that, there's three types of people that heard that. There's the one person who goes, dang, you're right, let me figure out how to do this, or I'm gonna cut back. And then there's the second person who's gonna say, dang, that's crazy, I'm gonna do it anyway. And then there's the third person who doesn't believe what I just said. They don't believe that every selfie you put on there is being utilized, reconstituted, and exploited in some kind of engine somewhere, and that you can control and that you can get value from, right? So when I talk to musicians, it's the same conversation. They keep putting out music. They keep putting out music. They keep putting out music. And every time they do, it gets utilized in a system like this, in a TikTok algorithm, in an Instagram reel or a Facebook, whatever. And it gets reconstituted for someone else's benefit. And then explaining it to them, I get one of those three reactions. And so we have to start looking at our voice as literal data assets, just like all of our media, like the photos we take, the videos we record, all that stuff, because you're uploading them to social platforms or internet platforms that have a big ass terms and conditions that you sign before you do that. And that of which, if you're not participating in understanding or being in control of, you are helping as a consumer feed the machine that does not pay you. So when you see a new feature come out for TikTok or social media and you're like, wow, who asked for this? Well, you wouldn't know. You were not an investor. When you look at a new movie coming out and you're like, man, who keeps asking for these bullcrap remakes? Well, it's because you're not an investor. You're a consumer. You sit and watch what we give you. And that's what you do, right? And this is a relationship you have with the people that create your products. So what has happened now in the macro side of things, the record labels have figured out, well, since you guys have that relationship, we're going to shift our relationships and collaborations towards tech companies. We're not going to collaborate with fans and feed fans and consumers what they want. We're not even going to feed artists what they're asking for. We're going to go straight to where the money is. And that's going to be AI and access to technology that helps us either secure, automate, or manage the data better. And so when I see stuff like this, I'm not surprised at all. But what I expect is the thing that usually offends most people when they see it coming. What I expect to see is more music that you won't understand, more artists that are going to fail faster. Like you're going to see probably like 1 to 2 year careers. And then you're going to see the type of ownership in music that you would see in a fast food restaurant. Like you're going to own a song probably for about 2-3 plays before you have to like pay for a subscription to get access to it again, because it's AI generated. Like you can get tokens basically to hear Britney Spears sing a song about you because, you know, knock on wood, she passed away 40 years ago. And so you can figure out how to make her sing a song today, but it's going to cost you AI tokens with a little Universal Music Group logo on the corner saying it's paid for by Suno. So I think that's what's going to be the expectation. And then somebody's going to come along and tell me that, oh no, we really do care about real musicians and artists. And I totally love this one artist I listen to on my phone. That's what you're going to tell me.
They will have a new revenue stream if their music is used in AI songs. Now let's see what Suno gets from this partnership. Suno gets to work directly with artists and songwriters. That means access to high-quality, fully licensed audio training data, allowing Suno to build advanced music models. Suno CEO says it will be the best music model the world has seen to date. Suno also acquired Songkick from Warner Music Group. Songkick is an app that lets you find live music near you, follow your favorite artists, get instant concert alerts, and buy tickets to the best upcoming shows. Well, that's great, but let's see how this partnership affects you as a Suno user. In the coming days, we can expect below changes to happen.
So let's see, what
and
were
buy
the changes
tickets to
that's
the
going to
best
happen?
upcoming shows. Well,
And just explain
that's
it
great,
again how
but
a
let's see how this
relationship
partnership affects
changes
you
everything.
as a Suno user. In the coming days, we can expect
Old models will be deprecated. New models are coming. Creative continuity. You can remix artist songs legally. I think that's going to be the biggest sell, is having 50 Cent and 2 Chainz rap in Spanish. Download limits. So I guess that's coming, which is the tokens part I was talking about. You can make these songs, but if you want to keep them, if you want to own them, if you want to play them multiple times, there's a limit on how many you can get, or you have to come up from your wallet. And then studio updates. Similar to what I was talking about with the Adobe Creator Studio. If you want to stay updated, if you want to have it running properly, kind of like car maintenance, they're going to charge you subscription fee. I don't agree with this, but again, somebody does. Somebody's going to want to pay $12.99 a month for this.
below changes to happen. Old models will be going away. The current unlicensed Suno models, including V5, will be deprecated, which means they will be phased out and gradually removed from service. Suno is building a new generation of advanced licensed models, which they expect to surpass even the Model V5, and they are confident the new models will still handle diverse genres and non-English languages. You will be able to build around participating artists' names, sounds, and compositions.
Look at that shit, bro.
Confident the new models will still handle
When we
diverse
talk about
genres
collaborating with musicians,
and non-English languages. You will be able to
this is kind of what I talk about when I say people get offended. This system right here in this screenshot, it shows workspaces on the right, which probably shows the, I guess you can say, landscapes for the music you can use. And then in the center, it says lyrics. You probably can give it a prompt for lyrics. It has above that audio, persona, and inspo. And below that, it has styles. And it says Bruno Mars, funky retro pop sound, tight brass heavy composition. Super vague, right? Super vague. But what is going to happen is if you just click create, Suno is going to use that vague little bit of information to still create something, right? But when I talk about collaborating with somebody, how do you make this make sense with somebody that wants to work with you transactionally? How do you make this make sense with somebody that wants to write music with you, perform music with you? Okay. So if you have your own brand, like I'm DameSmiff, right? And you're Kevin. If Kevin 3 times wants to work with DameSmiff, how do we legally split this if we're using Suno to help create the song? And Suno is using Bruno Mars's funky retro pop sound with tight brass funky composition to assist us. Now, one way you can look at this is you two can collaborate independently of this AI, or you can collaborate interdependently with this AI. But then, as we've seen with Drake, what does the record label ask for when the two of you, DameSmiff and Kevin 3 times, decide to use their engine to create a brand new song, that of which you want to own and perform? What happens with all that? I'm just asking a question. I don't even know how to answer that. So now when we're thinking about self-centered leaders, transactional leaders, delegation, and then authority, responsibility, power, where does all of this go? What order does this all get tiered into? If this was a video game and you were building your character and you had to place the power sliders across, where does authority go when the instruments you and your friend are using are coming from Suno? Like maybe you're just two guys in the house and you don't have, state-of-the-art recording equipment, so you go to this. Where does the responsibility go when it's time to perform the song and we got to figure out who's going to get paid what? Where does the leadership go when you're trying to figure out what prompt to put into the AI system? Are y'all a funky retro pop group, or are y'all a gritty 90s East Coast rap duo? Like, what is this? And so what direction do you go through? What foundation are you following? How do you figure all that shit out? And this is very important for musicians to collaborate with, because if you look at from the record label to tech company relationship aspect, it's driven by finances, which is just easy. Like if we make money doing this, say yes. If we don't make money doing that, say no. Very easy decision making. But how do you make these decisions when you have all of these variables coming in, as well as what we spoke about last week? There's less money to be made. What do you do?
Build around participating artists' names, sounds, and compositions. Record labels realize that the AI cover songs are insanely popular, and there's a huge market for it right now. With this partnership, anyone will
50 Cent in the Club 1980s hard rock AI cover. Listen, man, this is what people are doing. The fact that y'all think that there's some girl who's going to play the guitar in her room making folk music and she's going to blow up from TikTok, she has to compete with a fake version of 50 Cent making a 1980s remix for a completely different demographic of music that would never listen to 50 Cent. So the monster that young woman's career is up against is kind of like a Victorian baby eating a Big Mac, an entire Big Mac.
be able to make AI cover songs of famous songs and artists legally, and the artists will be paid for it if the artist opted in for AI training. Below are the features that are not going away. The personas are not going away. Suno Studio will stay and continue to get better updates in the coming days. Other features like covers, extend, stems, MIDI, etc. are not.
Dude, and also, I want you to know this too. Like, there's musicians who see this stuff and they understand exactly what they're looking at, like stems, MIDI, digital audio workstations and stuff like that. But I want you to understand, when we talk about this type of stuff, it's just like talking about like any industry. There's musicians out here who don't know this stuff. They delegate these type of tasks to other people. They garner and collaborate and build relationships with people who understand this stuff better, so that way they can focus on just doing music. But do you see how easily accessible it is for people to understand this information, and how big of a group of, I guess you can say, participation you're about to get from the greater community? Like, you're about to see a huge flood of just middle school kids that come right out of like fifth, fourth, sixth grade that know this stuff, that are being taught this stuff by professionals like us musicians. And then they're going to come out of school and college knowing how to complete entire film scores and actually make an album. versus there's probably a 56-year-old guitar player who does not open their digital audio workstation every day and understand this stuff, let alone produce at a level that's going to compete with that middle schooler. So when we think about who we're going to collaborate with, which musician would you rather collaborate with? The one that understands tech, finances, engineering, and business, or the one that plays and sings and dances really, really, really well?
Going away. What about the downloads? Suno is not removing downloads like UDO AI did, but there will be some changes. Free plan users will no longer be able to download the songs. A paid Suno account will be required to download the.
So this is a big part too. This is going to affect the consumer, which I think is going to widen the gap between the relationship between the consumer and the actual artist. So free plan, no downloads, which means you can't own it, right? How we listen to streaming now, we don't own our music. Like I have a playlist of, I think like 3 hours of music I just kind of play around with. I don't personalize it because I know I don't own it. Like the minute I don't pay the bill, I can't get access to it. The minute the app updates or changes or it's no longer accessible because the company went bankrupt, I don't own the music, right? So there's no real incentive for me to sit here and try to customize it without spending a bunch of money and time, right? So what they realize is, well, if that's the case, then we'll just charge you for that opportunity. Like if you do want to consider customizing a playlist, owning things, or creating music, we'll charge you. And then the people that don't, we don't really need to charge them because they never plan on doing it, like myself, right? So I just pay the flat fee to get access, and then I just have my little playlist, right? What's going to happen is, if you have a song, which I can see already happening on TikTok, that you don't really like as much, you can remix it for a flat fee legally. Like if you want to go to a party with your friends, you can remix a song that you may not like as much or that you do like and you want to improve upon or change. Download it, and then since they're saying the artist will get paid if they license out their music for these AI systems, it's possible that they would get kickback in terms of performance royalties if you were a DJ to do this. So again, where's the responsibility for who owns this, who has authority over this? And last week we talked about an artist creating AI artists for an entire AI record label. Well, if he's using Suno, which is basing a lot of its inspiration off of real artists, how does he know he's creating original things and has the authority to do this? Going back to how we collaborate and build relationships, do you see the value in collaborating and building a relationship with a, I guess you can say, AI artist today?
Songs. Each paid tier enables a specific number of downloads each month. How many downloads per month is not yet decided, but you can download and export unlimited songs and stems using the Suno Studio. Let's talk about the rights to the music you make. Music made on the free plan remains for personal,
So this actually goes right into what I was talking about. The free plan, personal, non-commercial use only. Non-commercial means like you're not gigging, you're not going out to like festivals and stuff and playing it out in public spaces where you plan on getting payment or getting some kind of like marketing and promotion for it, right? Paid plan, commercial usage granted. So that's where I think the shit is gonna get kind of for some artists and musicians, because depending on how high of a paywall that is, that's going to open up a floodgate of situations where people will believe they're listening to the actual artist and they're not. They will believe that they're experiencing something that the artist created and they're not, like a tour or a concert or even a live stream. And so this is going to be very, very interesting because, for example, I love live instrumentation, right? So like drums, guitars, saxophones, horns, right? I love that kind of stuff. So if you make a version of a song I like using those instruments, I will be attracted to it. But what happens when I prefer that over what the original artist makes? What does the artist do at that point, right? That's what's going to make this very, very difficult. And it says the terms will be different if you're using any participating WMG Warner Music Group artist's name, voice, or composition. I wonder how the terms will be different.
Non-commercial use only. Music made on a paid plan will continue to be granted commercial use rights, but the terms will be different if you're using any participating Warner Music artist's name, voice, or composition. So when are these changes going live? There is currently no definitive timeline for when these changes will happen, but I believe it will be early next year, 2026. So what should you do now? If you're a paid user, download all your existing output, especially anything you intend to use commercially, before any new restrictions or the deprecation of current models occur. Read terms of service closely when the new terms of service for the 2026 models are released.
Okay, another thing, this is a cool little thing you should start doing. And this is my little tip for you for free. This is your bro Dame helping you out. The next time you see a terms of service, copy the whole shit or anything you don't understand and put it into an AI system and have it read it back to you for understanding. Ask it questions, get complete understanding. Because what will happen is you will learn, A, you will learn a lot more, but B, you can understand what's going to happen. When we talked about discernment and what decisions to make, you can see like, okay, Suno plans on doing XYZ in the future based on this video. What do their terms of service reflect today? And how can I expect them to change, right? I seen a story recently where they were saying the Pokemon Go game was used to develop, or the data from that game was used to develop a delivery or food delivery robot GPS system. So all of that data from the photos, y'all recording yourselves going crazy, picking up a Charizard at the gym, all of that data was used for free with your exploitation, because you signed off when you jumped on the app real quick, just trying to get a little Pokemon. All of that data was paid for and used by another company to build their company, which is now making millions, if not thousands. So if you, again, are a consumer and you feel some type of way about that, then you have to stop practicing in consumerism. You have to start looking at these things and being investors, where you could have invested in that company, and when they bought Pokemon Go's data, you would have made money on the back end. But this is a relationship that is going to be happening over and over and over and over again. There's going to be smaller AI engines, smaller independent record companies. I would probably expect artists to probably start trying to get their own AI engines to try and compete with record labels. But this is going to happen over and over and over again. That of which, if you don't know you're a consumer, if you don't know you're an investor, or if you're not going to help produce in terms of these AI engines, you're going to get left behind.
Particularly regarding the ownership of the creations using the new models. I'll keep you guys updated as soon as I get any new information. Subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any updates. You can.
And so, just like in a futuristic fashion, AI is helping us understand AI so we can compete with AI, right? That was an AI channel of a dude, right? So we got to really understand these things going forward. So I have one more topic for us to get into, and then we can go ahead and close this out. Let me know how you guys are feeling in the chat. But again, do you think it would be beneficial to collaborate with an AI artist or an AI studio or an AI record label? What if you have a record label and your record label wants you to collaborate with an AI artist or multiple AI artists, and you're the only human, or your band are the only humans? You know, how does this work? Who gets paid? Why should you get paid? Are those real musicians? Is this real music? What are we doing here, right? So this last one we have is a guy who says we've entered a I don't give a shit era in music. And he believes it's going to be kind of like more narcissistic, egotistical type of music going on, which means we're probably going to lose, in my opinion, based on what that means, a lot of passion in music as well. So let's see what he says.
Truly believe that we have entered the I don't give a shit about people era of music. It's become about narcissism, it's become about selfish outcome, but the winners will be the ones who actually care. And I can promise you this, we live in a time where social media is treated like TV, one-way media. I will do something and I expect you to listen. I expect you to watch. So this is the easiest of wins, an easy win for people who can be bothered. Because if you want to see what I'm talking about, DM me on Instagram and say hi, see what happens.
So his point really is about how you'll see a lot of different musicians and things like that. They'll try to collaborate, especially now and like recently, and they'll do like huge albums or huge products or just like an unnecessary, it almost doesn't make sense kind of collaboration, right? And what they're trying to do is they're trying to hedge against AI and its existence of all these new artists and things that are coming in. So they're trying to basically cushion the fact that okay, if we're going to compete, we got to either up the human effort we have, or we have to think like a robot, like kind of like just pump out whatever comes out and just dump whatever, I guess, gets generated in our brain, right? So I think that's going to create an also more like, I do kind of agree now that I've thought about it.
Even talk.
I think it's going to create more narcissistic artists in the sense that they are focusing on making money, making a living, than actually delivering an immersive experience, right? We may have lost the idea that you're going to watch a person sing because they're good singers, right? You're more than likely going to that concert because you paid to go, and you're going there to get social points, like take a photo of that. You need a photo, a tweet, something. One is the barrier. A lot of people like to draw this line that, oh, I didn't take a bunch of photos, or I didn't record the whole concert. One is the barrier, okay? If you go to a concert or a comedy show or a movie and take one photo to share online, that is social proof right there that you were a part of the experience, right? There's no real need to do that as a consumer. It makes way more sense as an artist because you need to be relevant. People need to see your face and all this stuff. They need to know you did the thing, that everything is trending, right? But for many people, it's just to show that you're there. And now when we're getting into creating music, you're going to see the same thing. You're going to see people create music just because something happened. Create music just because a trending person is popular on the internet. So they're going to make a song about them or the topic, right? And it's going to push people away emotionally because they're not going to want to deal with a person that just wants to feed themselves all the time. It's kind of gross. It's greedy.
Talk to people within the comments. And by the way, for everyone asking in the comments, it's always me, just in case you're not aware, but it can do all of these things. Now, people are selfish. If I said to you, do you want to pay $1,000 for an amazing master for your new single, which will take about 2, maybe 3 weeks? Or do you want to have it free in 30 minutes? Do you want to pay a lawyer? Do you want to pay session musicians, etc., 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 etc.? The answer is probably no. We know.
And that's where a lot of the narcissism is going to breed, because you'll see people like, well, I don't need to pay you. Why would I pay you? I can open up Suno. Like for me, I would completely pay a piano player to play some music that I've written, because I can write, but I want the human feel of a human playing, right? The things that Suno tries to do or anything like it, there's always that little bit of our brain that goes, we can tell, right? Some people don't mind that. They don't mind being able to tell. Similar to how a lot of you do not mind that your favorite singers don't write their own music. You don't mind that when you do pay to go to a concert that they don't actually perform the show. So if you admit that you don't mind that, it's easier to accept what we're talking about. But if you don't think that you're the type of person that minds for lower quality music, and we'll talk about what that is eventually, then you won't really find a problem with what it is he's explaining right now. You won't really see an issue with an artist saying, well, I'm not going to pay people to make people music. I'm going to just make the music, and then for as cheap as it is, I expect to get paid full price.
3 weeks. Or do you want to have it free in 30 minutes? Do you want to pay a lawyer? Do you want to pay session musicians, etc., 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 etc.? The answer is probably no. We know that in general, people will take the easiest, cheapest route and cut corners that they can do to be validated. But what this means is everyone will use it and everything gets flooded. So therefore, it opens up new opportunities. This isn't about using it or not using it. It's about what can you do different? When everyone goes left, we need to go right. And this is the point. So here's what I think is now more important than ever. Number one, should you use AI? Yes.
He says yes. Okay, I was going to say it. I wonder what he thinks. But this is kind of what is going to be bleeding into a lot of your future collaborations now. When you're working with a musician, it's no longer going to be, can they play their instrument well? Are they on time? Do they smell? Those are like now bare minimums. Now it's going to be, does your musician that you're collaborating with, that you're writing with, that you're doing business with, understand the AI landscape? Do they understand how to prompt? Do they understand how to deliver on what it is that is trending right now as far as AI rendering? Because honestly, for session musicians, it's probably tougher for them because there's really no need to have a session musician come in for a good 4 or 5 hour session. We could probably just get a couple stems, get a couple voice samples, and then just let the engine do the rest of the work, honestly. And so the value that you have now shifted, which means how people treat you will shift, which means the narcissism that people have and the pride that people have and the grace that people give you has shifted.
I personally think you need to enjoy your art, and I'm not a fan of a song being a fully prompt, but at the same point, everyone's different, each to their own. Number 2, connection just became the most valuable commodity. Not how many people see you, but how much more can you look after people than anyone else.
And again, when we're talking about who to collaborate with, that's going to show you who and what it is that you're getting. When we were looking at Kanye West and he was talking about how his ego is big and he's self-centered and things like that. That may be true, but now you still have to figure out why so many people are still connected to this egotistical, dictator type person. There's a value there that you may not like. And that was my point in the beginning, saying like, you may not just collaborate with that leader. Maybe this leader isn't your cup of tea. It's not your flavor. But this is going to be more and more of the conversations you're going to hear within studios with musicians and on stages, because you're going to see somebody want to pull up, like in the Las Vegas sphere, you're going to see AI content. And then there's going to be artists who are anti-AI because of the things that are happening that we talked about last week. The record labels are moving towards it. Artists are getting paid less, but then you'll have somebody like him right here who will say, well, I think we should embrace it and use it as a supplement, which I agree with, but the relationship that the record labels have isn't proven for that to be beneficial to artists. It's proven to be beneficial to tech companies. And so what he's saying, even though I agree with, it's hard to justify it to a person who disagrees with it based on what's actually going to happen to the people that refuse to participate.
Means conversation, it means value, it means entertainment, it means conversation, it means creating for one rather than creating for an audience. Classic record label. Number 3, face-to-face is now a commodity, as that is something that AI cannot replace, not yet. Performances, gigs, meetups, etc. Not screen time, which can always be faked. Number 4, now more than ever, you need to define why you are doing this. Is this for money? Is this for validation? Is this for connection? There are ways for all of these, but they're all different and they all have different strategies. Now, I truly believe that we have entered the I don't give a shit about people era of music. It's become about narcissism. It's become about selfish outcome, but the winners will be the ones who actually care.
And he's absolutely right, because it's been that way for eons. The cream rises to the top, essentially, and all that, the cool quotes and stuff. But he's 100% right. Like, there's going to be people who use AI and they're going to use it kind of like a lazy little approach. Like, oh, I'm just going to prompt some music and then upload it to Spotify. Then you're going to see some people who can tastefully, artistically, and culturally curate some really good art with the utilization of AI. And here's the only ask that I have with AI. I think we should just be upfront and honest about AI and not try to do what vegans did with meat. I think we should try to make AI an upfront tool, just like digital music is today. Like, we pretty much know most of our singers are auto-tuned and pitched up and down, and they really can't sing live. A lot of them can't dance, and they don't really got smooth skin in their pictures and stuff. We know it's all digitized now. I think we should take that same approach with AI, because it would allow for AI artists to actually have to compete with each other creatively instead of quantitatively. Instead of trying to be the biggest, most popular, with the most viewership, like you said, now we can figure out, well, who's a better prompter? Who can use these prompts to really create something that's going to change what we're looking at and really make a shift in the music industry? So that's all I have for you guys today. This was Musician Talks with your boy DameSmiff. And if you enjoyed this, let me know in the comments. This is going to be a weird future, but it's going to be a way for you guys to understand how to navigate collaborations with one another without having to really worry about the emotional side of collaboration. Now you can really figure out, okay, well, I really like working with this person, but it's not going to be a benefit financially. Then you can make the decision. But If this was dope, let me